This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Yeah, there's so many different types of therapy that can help us, support us, help us move through challenging times. One of them is art therapy. Honestly, I didn't even really know it existed until I met her and have learned so much in terms of just allowing us to express ourselves and then what comes from that, interpreting what we're putting out there. And it could be seemingly insignificant as just a line or a brush stroke, but there's actually potentially meaning behind that. We're going to talk to her today. She is our Centennial Award recipient, and I have to congratulate her on that. Barbara Robertson is on the program. Welcome and congrats.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about and spread the word about how significant art therapy can be for someone who wants to explore what's going on inside, what's going on in relationships, what's going on at work, just whatever they're bringing to a situation that isn't terribly comfortable. And art has almost a magical way of illuminating for us more about what's going on than typically if we're just talking about it.
I would love to learn more today on how that actually works. And especially let's say if we wanted to pick a topic, your relationships and how art can reveal what you're feeling, maybe things that you didn't even realize. I will say in a couple of exercises that we did last podcast, maybe the one before as well, that I was just making some lines, but then you started identifying things, and then I started looking at it and realizing, yeah, that is me. And that's how I think, and it's just coming from just some marker strokes. It's kind of phenomenal how that all works.
It really is. And I think part of the reason that it works is I like to say artwork is heart work. Because the inspiration that we come up with for making marks in a particular manner that we happen to make them, whether it's a brush stroke or a pencil line or even squeezing an impression into a ball of clay, comes from a whole combination of experiences. And so it's using our whole brain and our heart. And I think I like to emphasize the heart because the heart is, aside from its function as an organ that sends energy throughout the body in the form of red blood cells carrying oxygen that allows us to move and breathe and digest and talk and everything else we do during the day, we also think of the heart as like the seat of our emotions. Many of our emotions, especially when they're particularly intense, they don't get translated into a story. Sometimes they just get recorded as a kind of sensory experience. Like one of the reasons why we might call an emotion a feeling is because there is very often a particular unique physical sensation that accompanies a particular kind of emotion. For example, if you think of feeling sad or depressed, a word that we often use is down. I feel down. And actually, the gesture of one's body when feeling down is kind of drooped. Our shoulders tend to go down. We kind of make ourselves a little bit smaller. It's almost like we go into a little bit of a protective stance to take care of those feelings that are painful inside. When we feel something like pride or accomplishment, whoa, all of a sudden the spine goes up, nice and straight. The chin goes up.
Yeah. Like a trainer, a good friend of mine used to say, and I would have that posture, and she'd say, proud soldier, proud soldier. Oh, okay. Your shoulders go back, your head goes, forward. It's a whole different look in a split second.
Yeah, and it's because I think pride gives us permission to take up space. And
Mm.
depression, the message is you take up too much space here, which is why it's really hard feeling to feel. But anyway, those things, we call them feelings because we feel them in our bodies. And I think we associate the heart with our body, our physical experience, more than we think of our brain. The brain kind of thinks of the body, to quote Jules Pfeffer, as a chauffeur for my head. So
Mm.
there's a lot more to it than that.
So deep question alert. Here we go.
Okay.
There are different modalities out there that allow the body to talk. One of them is actually called body talk. Advanced kinesiology, I think it's really the
Okay.
principle behind it,
Sure. Yep.
where you can do what's called muscle testing, where you can different forms of doing it, but it's basically asking somebody a question, them answering, and their muscles give the answer, that reveal the answer from within. There's no hiding it. The body doesn't lie. The body will give you the answer. That being said, is that what's going on here when it comes to art therapy? Where am I going with that? So somebody freely expresses themselves as long as they're not getting too deep in their head and like really being picky about what they're drawing or whatever art modality that
Right.
their medium that they're using. Um, do you think that's kind of the same thing where it's just flowing out of you and there's no pun intended, no coloring the answer? Is that you think that's what's happening?
I think that is entirely possible. I think certain conditions have to be present in order for that to really be allowed to flow. And that involves having enough safety and security, perhaps freedom from that little critical voice that's kind of like Jiminy Cricket and Pinocchio, who's, kind of being his conscience and
Yep.
saying, I don't do that. Well, our critic is not quite as nice as Jiminy Cricket. Our critic is more kind of trying to keep us from making mistakes that will get us some negative response from other human beings and maybe endanger our ability to stay connected with
Hmm.
community, whether it's an individual or a group of people. So that inner critic is all about not getting rejected. And often that can drive a sense of needing to be perfect. And there's no creative buzz killer like perfectionism,
Oh,
because it just,
yes.
just doesn't let your intuition take the lead and
Mm.
let your body make those decisions. But if you can give your critic permission to go have a rest in a hammock on the beach somewhere, let it know it's off duty for this period of time, and you just want to kind of play with whatever you've got to make a mark. Playing is when, if you think about little kids, how they play, they pick up something, particularly like in toddler age, before they really understand the whole world, they're just exploring to see what things will do.
Mm.
So my grandson, who's 2.5, will try rolling a little toy car. He'll try throwing it.
Mm.
He'll try all kinds of different things with it and decide what he likes about it or what he doesn't like about it. And so that's, if we can adopt that outlook when we pick up a crayon or a marker or a paintbrush with some paint on it, we can then just go by what's happening now. So I might look at 5 or 6 colors of paint I have, and I might notice which one really feels magnetic to me right now. And you may notice that your eye is drawn toward one of those colors more than the rest. It takes a little bit of stillness and a lot of not worrying about what that might mean.
Hmm.
And
I
just,
would have to say, Barbara, that there will be a color that you're drawn to. Hey,
yes,
given the perfect scenario, what's a perfect scenario? No stress, no outside influence. You're just kind of processing it. And I want to apply that to what I said before. when we're free to express ourselves and how the body's not lying. It's just, it's going right to your hand and you're drawing whatever you're doing.
That's
In
right.
the best scenario, where you're not overthinking, you're just letting it flow. I guarantee you pick a color. One will stand out. It'll resonate with you. I really do.
Yeah, I've totally seen that. And then you get to choose where to put the color on the page. And you might start and you might go, that color is so bright. What did I just do? But then
Mm,
you might take a couple of deep breaths and relax your system again and remind yourself, okay, it's just paint, it's just paper. If I really don't like it, I don't have to keep it. So, whatever you need to do to calm your system from freaking out by too much red and say, okay,
mm,
so is that really too much red or do I really like that red? Maybe I want more red.
right.
And then you can give yourself permission to make the whole thing red if you want to, or to make the red happen in different places on the paper or the canvas. And then you can have a sense when that's enough. And that sense that I'm talking about is really key to getting connected with the heart of yourself, which I think of as also not just the home of our emotions, but the home of our inner wisdom or our sort of internal compass that guides us toward things that add to our well-being and away from things that threaten to damage our well-being.
Are you referring to maybe intuition?
In a way, yeah, I'm I think the way that most of us have encountered this is, oh, let's say you're shopping for clothing or a gift for someone. You have a particular kind of thing in mind. You're standing in the store looking at the displays or looking at the racks and kind of flipping through, and you might all of a sudden see something that has a color or a pattern that again feels magnetic to you. You're drawn to it. It clicks with you. Something about it resonates. Something about the energy of that color or that pattern is feeling harmonious with the energy that is inside you. And whether it's because you are thinking of wearing something to a special event, or you're thinking about a gift that you want to really please someone you're close to with, and you know that's their vibe, whatever the reason is, you can almost feel it as a body experience. Another example is you walk into some place and there's like a cabinet of some kind and there's a bouquet of flowers on top of the cabinet, but the bouquet is it's a little off center or it's turned a little oddly and there's something about it that feels out of balance to you. And even if you don't have the freedom to walk up and shift it, mentally, you might be trying to shift that vase of flowers so that it feels more balanced to you as you take it in. That's the same kind of thing. That's the thing that says to us, yeah, we like to have the world around us in balance. We like to feel in balance. And when something is out of balance, it creates just a hair of discomfort.
Yep.
And if we're noticing, if we're not distracted by 97 things on our to-do list in the next 20 minutes, we can actually stop and notice those moments. And I try to encourage clients when they're making artwork in a session with me to notice when one of those kind of experiences is happening. I might see a shift in their demeanor as they're putting something on the page and say, oh, let me just give a timeout here. What did you notice just happened when you made that last brush stroke? And they might say, I liked it. And I'd say, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. What told you you liked it?
Mm.
And that's a way to go deeper and really connect with that little experience, that spark of energy somewhere that lit up because you liked it.
It is pretty fabulous when something speaks to you and you know it. You
Yes.
know that no, that's it. That's the way it should be. And as you're talking even about color, uh, I got a new car a few months ago and held on to the last one for a while. I'm very loyal, it just works. Why to get another one? It's all good.
Right. Yep.
That car, the one before that, pretty sure the one before that, all the same model, all the same color, white. I just liked it. Just a kind of a pure vibe to it, just it just supported, it felt well. Go to the dealership, and actually I had a mechanical deal going on with the older vehicle. It was time to get rid of it. So I was kind of
Yep.
pushed into it not making sense to do any repairs. Trade it in, move on. Looking for another white one. What the heck not? It always worked for me.
Right.
They didn't have one. Okay. And the person at the dealership said, "You know what? I've got something here. Let me pull it around. You take a look at it." And it was this silvery gray. I don't even know how to describe it, but it wasn't silver, it wasn't gray. It was kind of a rich combination of all. And when he pulls it up, I'm like, "That's it. I'll take it."
Awesome.
And I love it.
Yep.
I still
Yep.
love it. I look forward to driving my car. I feel good in it. It feels like it's me. But I'm bringing this up because I knew it as soon as he pulled it up.
As
A-
soon as you laid eyes on it.
As soon
Yes.
as I did, and then
You
and the
felt
story,
it.
I felt it, and
You
then
felt it.
and the
Yeah.
price was like super reasonable. Like, oh, really? Then I really will take it. But I don't want white anymore. After seeing that, there's something there, and I can't put my finger on it, but I can say I knew. So to your point, like looking at a bunch of different colors, you identify which one resonates more for you. I don't know why. I don't know how that works.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's all, neurology, brain chemistry, heart chemistry. I've actually been reading about a research institute called Heart Math.
Yes, yes, I've heard of that as well.
Have you heard of that?
Sure.
Yeah, where they're talking about how we have not only neurons in our brain that pass information, but neurons are part of our whole nervous system. And we have other concentrations in our heart and in our gut. So that gut feeling we have is actually sort of a brain signal in our gut, sending from our nervous system information up to the brain. And the heart also sends more information up to the brain than the brain sends down to the heart, according to this research,
Yeah.
which is kind of why I've been thinking lately, you know what? Your brain has no idea who you are. It's your heart that knows.
Hmm.
That's
I-
how it strikes me. Now, I can't say that science will necessarily back me up on that, but I think that so many of our defensive strategies come about in our thinking process. We make up stories to either make a situation feel better or give it meaning that
Hmm.
helps us keep going. And so it's very pragmatic that way, but it doesn't really say, and you have to give up this in order to get that safe feeling. Whereas the heart is like, okay, give me that just that little piece that now you have to sort of put away and keep undercover. And I'm going to keep it safe until you're at the point where you can bring that part of you back into action.
I'm still processing how the our brain doesn't really know us. It's almost as if it's a machine running. It's keeping everything going there, but it doesn't know you. And I've often heard too that the heart is a brain. It's almost got its own brain next to it.
It has brain neurons as a part of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a part of the fiber of the heart itself. Yeah. I mean, our brain can be described as a pattern detecting machine. And
Hmm.
in a way, that's what causes us to need defensive strategies in order to feel safe enough in our day-to-day life, because the brain will go, oh, remember that time you got insulted by your best friend back in the second grade? Well, this is just the same kind of weather it was that day. I can feel it. Something's going to happen. You're going to get insulted. Where's your best friend? Were they nice to you this morning? I mean, it'll go overboard with a slight overlap of some part of an experience that it wants to protect you from reliving.
Is this all come down to that one thing? You've used that word a number of times, us wanting to feel safe. We'll do whatever we need to do to feel safe.
Yes. Yes.
Is that the baseline for everything that's going on?
I do believe it is. Yes. I think that we really need to have a sufficient experience of safety with a sufficient number of others in addition to our attachment or caregiver people,
Hmm.
whether that's our biological parents or whoever has taken on, keeping us alive, supporting us as we grow, rearing us, raising us to be a member of society. Um, that safety is what allows our brain to permit us to be healthy, to engage in growth, and to restore ourselves when injuries happen. And that's because if we feel unsafe, our nervous system can be variously easily triggered or not so easily triggered, but at the point when our nervous system feels like this current moment is repeating a pattern that we knew was dangerous at one time, it sends all of our energy to parts that are not our prefrontal cortex in the brain, parts that are not involved in learning. When we're overly anxious, the hippocampus, which is the part that handles short term memory and can deliver it from a current experience into long term memory, it goes offline. That blood is needed elsewhere. And the blood typically goes to our torso and our limbs. Because if we need to face danger, we need to either fight or flee or freeze in extreme cases, or they've added another one more recently called fawning, which means to kind of bend over backwards to please the person that you feel is intimidating you. And for all of those things, we need energy that moves into action, not stopping to think. And actually, our ancestors, some of them may have stopped to think, but they're the ones that got eaten by the saber tooth.
Yeah, right. You're giving validity and a light on things that I've often wondered about. And the goal to feel safe, I almost don't want to admit it that that's what we do, but that's really what everything centers back to, that the safe feeling. That being said, yes, like our bodies are programmed for when we're not feeling safe to send blood to extremities for one thing, to run, to run. So that's
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
the flea. So it's almost like eh, we're not running from a pterodactyl or a saber tooth. However, our subconscious doesn't know it. It just knows this situation isn't safe. I have to go talk to my boss today. He chewed me out last time. He's always grouchy. He doesn't appreciate what I do, et cetera. Whatever it might be, I gotta go talk to him again. I don't feel safe.
Yes.
So the setup, the
Yes.
physiological chemical setup, is already there.
That's right. That's right. And the nervous system doesn't really make a difference between reality and
Yeah.
imagination.
It's the same situation as running from the saber-toothed tiger.
Exactly.
Although your boss may look like one to you, it's possible. I don't know.
That's entirely possible.
You never know.
There are some saber-toothed tiger bosses out there.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I haven't encountered any that ferocious in my
Well,
workplace.
I encountered a fox, but not in a hot way. He's just like a sly fox I
Yes.
dealt with. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Yep. A
Sneaky.
sneaky devil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just
Pretty
love,
amazing how this all works, and once you start realizing
yes.
it and why we do what we do,
Yeah.
um, yeah, and let's go to fear, because if you have fear, you're not feeling safe. So we're kind of working our way back from that. But I heard this recently, and I want your input on it. That the only two fears we have, the only two that we're
Okay.
born with from the saber-toothed tiger days,
Right.
is loud noises and the fear of falling. It's the only ones that we come programmed with.
Interesting.
The rest of them, We
Yeah.
learn. We
Yeah.
learn those fears. What do you
That
think?
that is interesting. I mean, it strikes me as highly possible. Some friends of mine might throw snakes in there.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let me think about that. The snake would be, well, the loud noise could be the person next to you screaming. So, when they see the
Right,
snake.
or the saber-toothed tiger roaring. The,
Right, right.
the fear of falling would, I mean, not all humans lived in nice flat plains. There were probably lots of opportunities to.
And look what can happen when you fall. Let's say, saber-toothed tiger days, again, this is evolution, you're on a cliff. So you got to be careful because you have a fear of falling,
Yes,
essentially, to protect you. But those are the fears. And if those aren't met, and also the ones that you learned, you're not going to feel safe. You're not going to feel safe.
that's true. And another thing that I've heard recently about fear is that what your system is most afraid of has already happened.
Ooh, need a moment. I can't deny that. Because how would you know what it is if it hadn't already happened?
Exactly. And the system is designed to protect us in the interest of, forwarding the gene pool into
Hmm.
into eternity, apparently.
And
One
you
generation at a time.
right, and that whatever that is, if we didn't feel safe, we don't want to go back there and experience it again. So it, we go back to what we know.
Exactly.
And what is the subconscious doing? It's just replaying the stuff that's already happened in your life as early as birth or even pre-birth, if you want to believe in
Yeah.
past life.
Yeah. Yep. Some people really, and I think we're learning that there is something like consciousness in a developing fetus, at least in that last trimester, where hearing can be detected. My sister was giving birth of one of her four daughters, and the fetus was having some cardiac irregularity. And her husband, the dad, had been talking to her belly through the pregnancy. And they were about to think that a C-section was necessary. And he stepped over and put his head down close to her belly and started talking in the same soothing voice he'd been using in the last part of her pregnancy. And the heartbeat slowed and got regular. And she was able to give birth as she had been
Wow.
beginning to do, because the sound was familiar, and familiarity breeds a sense of safety.
Yeah.
So the infant was in an unsafe situation going down that birth canal. Whoa, what is happening to me? But oh, there's Dad's voice. Okay, it must be okay because he's out there. All right, cool.
And I've heard this before, and it's made me comfortable. And let's go here. Um, I don't know if I shared with you, I had a past life regression a few weeks ago.
No, you didn't. That's fascinating.
Hypnotherapy. I've had hypnotherapy before
Okay.
and
Yeah.
saw my childhood and made some really great connections. Definitely was helpful, healing, and all of that. So I was like, had some time, took some time off, and I was like, oh, you know what? Let me treat myself. Let me see what this is about. So in the hypnotherapy session, went back to the childhood. Now we're heading back to the past life. Before we got to the past life, it was me before I was born. And what the hypnotherapist said was, what was your mom experiencing? What was she thinking at that moment when I'm in the womb with my twin sister, by the way?
Oh,
And part of me started thinking, well, what would she have been thinking? And I'll tell you, I'm pretty sure what was going on. Um, my parents weren't getting along. They got divorced shortly after I was born.
ah,
So I was kind of visualizing what could have been going on. But here's the game changer. As the session continued, I felt it. And I felt the feeling of my mom hoping that everything would be okay, not just with the birth, but just everything in general. Now, I could think that and say, yeah, I think that's probably what she was thinking, but I was feeling it
You
like
experienced it on a heart level. It was heartfelt.
big time, big time. And I try to dissect it and take it out. Like, all right, are you in your head with that? And if we have a moment, I'll even go to the past life for a moment to illustrate how we carry this stuff in. It could be real from another life. Um,
Sure.
I was on a farm overlooking the barn horse. I want to say maybe reference 1800s, and I've even said before that time period resonates with me, and I didn't know why. Well, past life regression, I'm essentially there, and I'm thinking, yeah, I have a wife, and she's not around here, and I'm out there, barn horse, and all of that. Where is she? I don't know. Then it hit me. She died,
Wow.
but I felt it like
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
And then I saw images of her deathbed. I could tell you the room, what it looked like. So wild. But my point here is I felt it. I felt it like to the point where I was crying. Like, if this wasn't real, why would I be connected to it? Yeah, you watch a movie. It's almost like watching a movie. You watch a movie and you feel empathy for the characters, and okay, to a point. But you're not going to
Yes.
be sitting there like feeling it and just crying.
Right.
Then past that, that life continued with me going into a town, leaving this life behind, going into some kind of town back then, same period, horses and such. I got elected, elevated. I don't know what it was. I don't do politics. I don't know what I was, but I had some stature in the town. I had another wife. I could see her looking at me with pride,
Awesome.
feeling it.
Yes.
So, my point here is
Yes.
heartfelt. I
Yes.
It was heartfelt, and if it's the past life thing, and I'm about like 60%, 65% believing it. Um, how would I even feel that in the way that I did? I don't know.
Yeah, I think our imagination is able to channel much more than we realize, and that really is what feeds our creativity, our what I feel is our inherent, innate, inborn capacity to create something that is particularly suited to your experience, to your truth. um, that also has a wonderful potential to connect with others as well. I mean, I think that's a gift that we can continue to kind of harvest from any experience that we can become aware of. And
Mm,
in fact, I've been learning that it's possible to revise memories of past situations by also using your imagination to vividly re-experiencing something that happened that was hurtful in some way, in which you had no support. There was no one there with you to help you interpret what was happening, to understand what the context was, to understand whether or not it meant there was something wrong about you, or you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
mm.
And it's possible to revisit, also through a sort of hypnotherapy process, that experience in which you, as your adult self, imagine that you are there with your younger self.
Which I've done in the past, where I've actually faced myself in the hypnotherapy session, like chair to chair, and addressed myself saying, I will always be there for you. I got your back. I'm here. Don't ever worry.
Yes.
And it
And
was
it's also possible
wild.
to face the bully and say, "Hey, I want you to know that you're treating this little person in a way that's really not fair to them at all. You're having a big negative impact on them, And I really wish that you would stop and think about what you're doing and
Hmm.
why you might be doing it. And if there's a better way for you to get the need met that you're using bullying to accomplish, can we talk about that for a minute? And then the child you suddenly realizes, oh, okay, I do have value. Someone is standing up for me, which is really all we ever need is to know that we matter
Yeah,
to a handful of people in the world. And then the rest can roll off
sure.
of us, like, the saying goes, like water off a duck's back. As long as
Hmm.
we have that, but we can go in and restore that in a way also. And so, art therapy for me involves not just using art materials to create images, but also using imaginal experience, using our senses, but in an internal way. So I might invite someone to say, so like imagine that your heart really is the home of all your emotions. And it's the home of the most essential you, the you that contains all the cells that can express your potential in some way. So it's sort of like the seed, the germ of you. And over your lifetime, it will begin to unfold and grow. But your heart, it's where it lives, it's where it feels at home.
So interesting how we've gone in different directions here today, but it comes back to the heart.
It
That's
does.
that's where it is, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And you can go in and sort of imagine what would that space in my heart look like? Does it have walls? Mine
mm,
is kind of lined with fur because everything that goes in there needs to feel something soft and holding, something warm. Other people's might be, like a skyscraper, enough room for just more stories to be added on, more and more and more to contain more. Any sort of imagery that comes to you is going to tell you something about how you identify your unique self.
so interesting because you look at it as every day is different. We're feeling different emotions all the time. So even to describe what's your heart feel like today? How would you describe the interior of your heart today? What do you got going on there? Might give you clues as to what you're ultimately feeling that day. You know, let's say you're feeling some pain, you're feeling some hurt, the walls of your heart, you know, I got steel, there's metal. It's like a metal
Yeah,
box,
absolutely. It might have its armor up, you know.
right?
Um, at one point, I was envisioning something, and the door was just cracked open, and some little beings that were already in my heart were kind of peeking out to see who else wanted in. I mean, and that's a moment to moment kind of thing. That's a kind of just a way of understanding what is my energy doing. So part of me wants to connect outside, and a part of me wants to be sure it's okay to go outside.
Hmm.
And both of those are valid needs. And when we can support needs that are actually conflicting, I mean, that's a part of maturing and recognizing this is how life is.
I would say my heart currently, you know, in my journey of the last number of years, there's a gatekeeper. There's a gatekeeper there. And sometimes I make poor judgment. I want to say mistake, poor judgment, and open up the gate. You know, even work relationships, you know, even that, you know, where the gate swings open, everything's all good, although it was a little guarded, and then ultimately might not have been the best fit, and then you got to, you know, change things up. Um, it's amazing when you look at it that way. It's just
Although I would say, if I can just put one little remark in there, I would hesitate to call it poor judgment. I might call it insufficiently informed judgment or hopeful judgment.
I'm going to agree with you, but I'm also going to take it that one further step
Okay.
and connect it to my intuition and not
Ah,
listening to my intuition. So
aha,
that
yes, yes,
that being said,
yes.
ultimately I was misinformed because I didn't listen to the information that was available.
Yep, that your intuition was trying to get across. And
Every single time.
every single
There's
time.
not even in
Okay.
all
Yep.
of it.
No question about it.
There is none. There is
Yeah.
none. And the
Yeah.
more we're talking about it, the more I have flashes of different situations and scenarios. And it's like, yeah, well, you knew. Yeah, you're right. You did know. What about that? Well, you wanted to trust, but yeah, you knew, but you you were hopeful. and but ultimately, you kind of had the information. You just didn't use the information.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, also that you could see that as your intuition accruing trust in a gradual way.
Exponentially in the past 2 years.
Okay. Okay.
And almost to the point where there's like a threshold, like I got, it's the threshold has changed where it's like I can't deal with this. This is just not right, and then just moving on, as opposed to, well, we'll make it work. Maybe we can.
Yeah. 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 You get kind of a, I think the older we get, the more we realize we have more choices than we typically believe. We have choices to pass up
Yes,
opportunities. And I think that's because the longer we live, the more we can recognize there is abundance rather than scarcity of opportunity.
yes, and it's funny you should say that because I know somebody met them at the gym and we became, just friendly. And he's always. I'm the therapist. I walk in, he's like dumping his issues on me and everything, and it's like I'm good to a point, but I also got, certain, I'm on a clock. Um, but I told him just what you said today. I said, in everything you do, you have a choice. You have choices. You always have a choice. When you think you have no control and it's been taken away, you have a choice. How are you going to react to it? I know sometimes it feels cold to think that, well, when you're in the throe of the moment,
Right.
you really do have a choice.
And that's so much more empowering than really relying on external factors to conform to some condition that you have for it to meet before you can be happy.
Yeah. Well, we all do that, don't we? Like,
We
yeah,
do.
when I go on vacation, I'll feel better. It's coming up in 2 months. When I change my job, it'll be, yeah, then I'll be happy. We can't
Exactly.
pilot that
Or
way.
if this friend of mine or this relationship, if this person would just treat me differently, then I wouldn't feel so insulted. Well, you know what? You don't have to feel insulted in the first place because maybe they're treating you that way because you remind them of someone else and they're not really responding to the you of you.
Right.
And that relationship, when you don't respond like the past person did, can help them realize, oh, this is a different person. I don't have to respond that way. And then the relationship changes. There's a shift because
Hmm.
you chose to rely on yourself to manage how you responded.
And I believe that is the baseline for many relationship challenges. It's not you, it's really them reacting to what they've been through, and they're just repeating that, or whatever feeling. Maybe they didn't do anything, maybe somebody did something to them. They're just repeating that in this relationship. They don't see it. Maybe you don't see it until you do a little deep dive there. Honestly, in the most challenging relationships I've ever been in my really long life, um, I don't condone what people have done. However, I've taken a look at their upbringing, and I'm not looking for answers and clues. They just present it. It's like,
Yes.
oh, that makes
Yes.
sense with that. Oh, that, you know what? Can't deny it. It's like when you think about it, and I'm not trying to make it something, it's there. It's
It's
there.
there. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And when you see it's there, and often I've had clients kind of discover that aspect of a relationship through doing artwork.
Hmm.
What do you know about when so and so was a young child? What have you learned from them? Can you draw them in their childhood? Who is with them that they've talked about? How might that have been for them? Suddenly, this wave of compassion will just burst on the scene. And they have that same kind of thing. Oh my gosh,
I didn't
they're
see it.
I didn't see it, but they're talking from their little vulnerable part that got so hurt. Or or they're trying to defend themselves in some way. And so their armor is up. And so, yeah, I can't feel close when the armor is up, but it's not me they're protecting themselves from.
You had mentioned before you have some images that you wanted to show today.
Well,
Shall we do that?
yeah, we can take a quick look. I've got a few photographs of trees that I've collected over the years because one thing that I've noticed,
Hmm.
we're talking about body expression. Started talking about kinesthesiology
Sure.
earlier,
Yep.
and
Which wasn't even planned, by the way. They just kind of just came up.
this just comes up. I know that's one of the pleasures of kind of talking with you, having these conversations, because they do tend to organically evolve in
Yep.
just lovely ways for me. Anyway, trees have gesture. Just like we see human bodies, we know when someone is gesturing in some way. It might,
Hmm.
we might call it body language.
Sure.
So let me
Hmm.
share my screen here, this one.
And by the way, while you're doing that, I have a such a new appreciation for trees in when I realized a number of years ago how they ground us and how they can help us heal.
So I want to invite you and our viewers to have a look at this tree, which if someone's not visually connected, I will describe it as it's a tree that's dormant. It's in the wintertime, no leaves on the branches. The sky behind it is gray, and the trunks and branches are what I would describe as gnarly. They're bent and twisted and going in
Yeah.
all upwards. And when I try to mimic that in my body, we have something in our brain called mirror neurons that allows us to replicate what something that we're looking at might feel like. So I want to invite anyone who can see this tree to imagine if you were built that way, how would that feel? And I'm kind of wanting to just
Like,
kind of
how do you
turn my
even, you know,
arms inside out.
it's like kind of all twisty and it's interesting. I never realized that in looking at a tree that they can grow that way. And it almost reminds me of a lightning strike when it branches out, but it could be in any
Yes,
direction.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
this tree has, I would guess, been impacted by maybe wind, forces other than just sunlight and light rain that have caused it to kind of bend and turn. Here's the next set of trees. These two caught my eye because of how they arch over the street. You can see a number of branches are making this almost half circle arch over the street.
Hmm. I wonder, yeah, I wonder why they grew that way. I
No
don't
idea.
know.
No idea. This one also looks like some prevailing wind forced it that way, but who knows?
Who knows? But I was thinking the same exact thing.
But
Hmm.
doesn't it feel more graceful than the other tree, just to kind of throw a word in there?
Well, it does in that it almost looks like it's hugging the street, like it's providing shelter in a
Yes,
warm, loving way.
yes, yes. I see that. I like that description of it.
You know what? I want to share this with about trees, and I think you'd be the only person that would get this, but had dinner at a restaurant on the water a couple of weeks ago, and I'm looking through the door, and I can see a tree, and I can see the water. Now, it was like 80 degrees out, but there were no leaves on the tree.
Huh.
I don't know why. Maybe the tree was dead. I don't know, whatever. But it was a weird feeling knowing it was warm out. And then you even saw like a dad playing with a, kid. But it was, it had that cold feeling, but it
Yeah.
wasn't cold. It was bizarre. It was just,
Like
and
a
I couldn't stop
winter
staring.
tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a winter
Yeah.
tree. Yeah.
Yeah. Incongruence is what I would call that in artwork.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is,
Something.
I can't describe the feeling of bizarreness
Yeah.
looking through the door at that leafless tree, but I couldn't stop looking at it and just try to process it. Like, well, imagine if this was a winter's day, but it was really 80 degrees on an anomaly, and
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
weird, just a weird
Well,
kind of thing.
there's that sort of pattern detecting machine of our brain going, wait, I see two patterns here and they're contradictory.
Exactly right.
Now here's
Mm.
another tree. This tree is sort of also sheltering in a way, but it looks like it might be sheltering itself. It's kind of hugging toward the ground. All the branches are downward bending instead of bending up.
And very low to the ground. Like
Very low.
there's almost no trunk on that tree.
And what trunk there is very thick.
True.
So it looks very sturdy. Like, why does it need to be protecting itself that way? So there's a little incongruence in that one too.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's hunkered down.
Yes. Here's another one that's kind of gnarly.
Mm.
It's got leaves that are sort of drooping down. It's not winter time here, but this one also looks like, to me, like it's spreading out and reaching up because each branch needs some room for itself.
But each branch is very thick. Those are like trunks of 5 different trees,
Yes.
7 different trees.
Yes. Yeah,
Mm.
it looks like that. And they seem to all be coming from the same part of the ground. So,
Yes.
you know, maybe my kind of internal sense of that would be okay, these guys all want to be individual trees.
Hmm.
I don't know if they do or not. I mean, that's complete fiction.
I know, but again, looking at the summer tree that had no leaves, same kind of thing. It's like
Yeah.
start making you think about it. And I see what you're saying, how it 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 could be, one could think that they want to be all individual.
Or
Wow.
it could just be that, their leaves, when they really are dense, make so much shade that they had no choice but
Yeah.
to lean over and out of the shade. This is a funny one. It's a very, very tall, very skinny evergreen tree of some kind, and its
Yeah.
branches are kind of downward drooping, but it's extremely tall for how thin it is.
Um, it's almost saying, I don't care. I'm doing my own thing. I'm an
Yes.
individual, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna soar.
Yep. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna do what I do.
Yep.
I
Well,
don't have to match.
I'm looking at the clock. We're just about out of time for today.
Okay. All right.
I want to share with everybody the best way for them to reach you if they would like to experience art therapy, express themselves, maybe learn what's inside, what's in their heart. Maybe they
That
didn't realize it.
I would welcome any outreach. You can reach me at my email, which is B as in Barbara Robertson, Robertson.atr Or you can look at my website, robertsonarttherapyllc.com.
And I'm going to offer this, if I may, if you would like to create a drawing or show us some kind of art, maybe expression. That could be markers on a page. Doesn't matter. Send it to us. instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. Let's take a look at it. Maybe, we'll come up with something. Oh, look at me. I'm saying will. Barbara will take a look at your art.
Well, I think you've contributed a great deal. You picked up quite a few of the the strategies.
I'm just a student. I'm a student that shows up, but learned a lot from you and
Well,
validated a lot of things that I've been thinking about for a long time. And you know what? I used to draw cartoons. Maybe I'll bust out one of those and let you analyze it.
oh, would love to see one. That'd be
Huh.
great.
I just thought of that. All right. I love
Okay.
talking with you, Barbara. Thank you for today.
Thank you. Take care. See you
Appreciate
next
it.
time.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.